He's going for even more. There comes your lockdown. Isle's going to be the target. He tries to go right back in. Vulcan's going to be taken low, but a massive multi-ulti coming out from JoJo. And Cloud9 is getting mopped up. Danny goes into the stasis to keep himself alive. Darshan's going to be controlled, but not long enough. Vulcan goes back over the wall trying to make it happen. He flashes away and lets them know, you shouldn't have let me go! The Cloud9 BM versus his old team.
Yeah, still a bit of a chase down here. Actually, EG, you're turning.
Oh, but a nice kill back onto Fudge, and EG return the favor. They ain't done yet. Danny's getting excited, and Evil Geniuses are ready to keep the fight going. Nice stun coming out from Renekton. Nice rocket follow-up from Danny. A nice base push coming out from EG. Welcome back, everybody. If you're just now joining us, well, you missed out on what Mr. Mark Zimmerman described as a gut punch in game number 1 as EG just took Cloud9 to the cleaners, start to finish.
And it's going to be really interesting to see what Cloud9 does for a bounce-back game, right? You know, is it one of those games where you have the salty bands where you're like, well, no Danny, Yasuo for you, you know, that was the problem. Or are they just looking more at actually their gameplay and trying to fix some of those things? Because it was a bit of a weird comp. I think we were talking about how it could have worked, but it was really low damage. It's like you kind of needed to not allow your enemy to snowball and then get a lot done with TF, and none of those things happened.
This is why it's a difficult game to bounce back from, because there really is every part of the game that you might need to look at. The fact that you had... Oh. Hello.
Are you good?
Yep. I was just making sure we were in the game.
Okay, yeah,
I was making sure we were in the game.
No,
You
I'm
kept
good,
talking.
yeah, come on. I'm
Yeah.
good. No, it was just such a thing where the power spikes were at the same time, which made it really awkward because you have the TF turn on at 6, but Diana Yasuo turns on at 6, and like Renekton turns on at 6. So where exactly was the TF supposed to go? What was he supposed to do in that game? As well as the fact that you didn't have any pressure in the early game, so while technically you outscale, like you had no way to vent that pressure early on.
Right, and the draft could be noticeably different this time just from the fact that, hey, Cloud9's on blue this time around, right? Like, we've seen drafts just completely flip on their head before because some teams just play a lot better on blue side than they do on red, depending on patch, depending on the day of, whatever. So hopefully, for our sake, for all of your sake here at home, Cloud9 have a better plan going into game number 2 because they have got to figure something out here. That 26-minute win from EG is not something you want to be running back if you're Cloud9. Let's see how the draft looks, how different it is, how similar it is. Senna will once again be denied.
Will be interesting to see what the mix-up is going to be. You know, are they willing to actually leave TF up this time? You know, are you going to ban it away? Because EG likely will take it. So yeah, they're forced to ban it, even though they didn't really have a successful game playing it. That's one of those things that can really create a pretty big discrepancy in pick ban when you're in a series. When one team's able to leave it up and beat you with it, and you can't do the same against them, you're looking at priority picks. And EG banning out Corki again. Do they ban out Victor and just say, well, Fudge, if you can't play scaling, you can't play against me? That would be interesting to see that from JoJo.
Especially like you're talking about these different priorities in the individual draft.
Diana has to get banned too.
Yeah, like it can change for just this series because, for example, Jinx is a 70-something plus win rate in the LCS right now. It's unbelievable. That's why it's getting first picked away. And so you had to take that as well away from the previous draft of Danny.
And I like the fact that they ban out Diana here because it's one of those things where between the two champions individually, Diana feels more valuable, and you don't really want to run Yasuo without proper setup for him. So when a combo exists in that sort of a dynamic, you kind of get a 2-for-1 deal with your bans. So they don't want to ban out both. They ban out Diana. It is Jinx locked in for C9. The response is going to be another hyper scaler to deal with it. Aphelios locked in for EG.
I mean, you could just go with Aphelios Victor here if you want to play scaling. You know, take that as the priority pick here. But, you know, there is also things like LeBlanc still is available here. But that does mean that Fudge would be able to kind of play comfort on that other side. Instead, you know, moving towards potentially a jungle pick would be interesting to see that come out from Inspired. I think Victor makes the most sense, though. Yeah, like,
way better.
Really? Because I hate it.
I mean, it's just smart drafting, right?
I don't want smart draft. I want fun drafting.
I want Teemo first pick and Zoe. She's my favorite champion.
All right, both my analysts have lost their mind. We've got Victor locked in here for the side of EG. That's going to be piloted by JoJo. Over here on Cloud9's side, thinking about a jungler for themselves. Isaac, you were very critical of Blabber's performance in the early game in the previous match. It seemed like he was lost. It didn't seem like there was a very coherent plan. So maybe the Jarvan, 78% win rate on that one. If you like high win rates, Mark, maybe this is the key.
Well, I think it's also one of the best early ganking junglers in the game. Like, you can affect the map as soon as you grab your buff. And I think after watching how little options they had in the early game, this was an attempt to decide, like, let's give Blabber some playmaking right out the gate, doesn't rely on his laners, so he can just go out and do something, because last game was a travesty. So just give him the strongest thing at level 2 onwards.
I also really like grabbing up the Thresh here. Last time it actually went through to the second phase, then got banned away. They have, I think, a lot stronger 2v2, kill pressure with this type of lane. If you can land a hook or a flay into the chompers, the CC is really strong. That in combination with J4, you have a clear lane you can attack. You can get the push here, then move with the Thresh Jarvan combo. That's a really strong roaming combo here as well. The question is really going to be, where do you actually push Fudge towards now? That is kind of my big question. Tahm Kench does come through. This should be support, obviously, with the changes for him. He's much more moved to that sort of role, so it's not Senna TK, but it is a Aphelios TK. I actually don't think he's a very strong support in these kind of situations, to be honest. But they're playing it very defensively, and I think it's more just looking towards, all right, if you're going to be full-on early game running at us with the Thresh and the Jarvan, you can use this to kind of mitigate that, because Tahm Kench can scrap really well, and post-6, he can save you from the Cataclysm so easily.
Right. It's one of those things where back in the day, everybody just knew him as the third summoner spell for the AD carry. You sit on him, you press Devour. Of course, that's not available anymore with the changes, but he is still a super effective laner just in terms of stat checking other melee or short-range champions.
I still feel like it's more of a team pick here, though. Like you're saying, that third summoner spell, well, now he actually is that with a longer cooldown. It's not on his W in like a 20-second summoner spell.
It's a fat shield.
It's a fat shield, and with the J4 engage and 2 immobile backline carries already, I feel like this was a decision by EG to grab up the biggest bit of safety they can give so they don't fall prey to a dive comp, because if the TK gets banned out and then they take more engage on Cloud9's side, your backline's very suspicious.
Yeah, I think it can be dangerous for sure. You can use other champions disengage-wise, like an Alistar. You could go for engage like Leona and obviously try to be proactive with it. But I do think it makes a lot of sense. You can deny Cataclysm. You can eat your champions out of the Cataclysm as well. So definitely later on will be really strong.
And I also like the fact that EG ban out the LeBlanc, talking about the same things you guys are going towards here. More dive, more burst, more threat. They want to eliminate that possibility. And this got banned out in the previous game, but Gwen available. That's going to be locked in here for Impact.
And I think there's a potential it's jungle Gwen, actually. We saw this a little bit earlier in the LEC, I believe it was. And the fact that there was a bunch of jungle bans thrown at the TK came at an opportunity cost where Inspire did not first rotation his jungler, puts him behind in the bans, and this might be an ability to take away the Gwen or give it to Impact while also getting Inspire's champion.
There's still like a lot of pretty meta junglers though. Olaf is a pick that he does like. Lee Sin's available. So there are some bans coming through, but he still has picks. He hasn't been pushed that far down. Gwen jungle I think can work, but it feels like really specific scenarios because it has absolutely no gank pressure whatsoever. Unless you're super overpushed, you kind of walk in behind them. So you kind of play it more as this is like scaling jungle pick, and I think Lee Sin would be pretty smart here. Give them a little bit of engage because they are so light on engage right now. Even with Lee Sin, you do not have reliable engage in this comp at all.
There's not a lot there, but the final two picks that we haven't talked about yet, Cloud9, they have the Akali top and Lux mid.
This is such a weird dive combination. That is still ultimately the game plan for Cloud9's comp. J4 starts it off. Lux fires her ult over the top. You have the dive buddy with Akali.
Jinx Rocket too.
Jinx Rocket. They have a lot of ways to still try and blow up this backline for Cloud9, or excuse me, EG. So they did come together, but in a very different way. I believe this is the first Lux mid we've seen through lock-in tournament.
Yeah, I will say Lux mid definitely way less popular than support in pro play across the board, but it is actually pretty strong in solo queue. And one of the things that I think a lot of people underestimate about Lux as a solo lane is with the additional gold and building AP items, the shields become absurd. Like they become so strong. A lot of players even start putting a couple extra points in those, relatively early on in the game and don't just go pure damage skills. Like, maybe a couple points in Q, a couple points. They're obviously maxing E, usually 4 wave clear, but then they're putting those points in W. And when you're on like death cap late game with Ludens and all this AP, the shielding can be, 500-600 for each person on your team. Like it can be thousands of shielding every time you're throwing it out if you're hitting multiple people with it each way.
And of course, the conversation goes to how is this going to work with Fudge, because when you look at players doing role swaps, you generally look at, okay, where do the champ pools for the two different roles overlap? What sort of picks will they normally trend to? What's dominating the meta? Lux isn't really any of those things, so I'm curious how well this will play out for Fudge. Cloud9 definitely has their work cut out for him based on how EG was playing there in game number 1. Fudge, you can see here, he's got the Arcane Comet, teleports up and running for all 4 of our solo laners as per usual, but I always do like to check ever since the changes, see if anybody's running anything super aggro instead. That is not the case. Neither one of our 80 carries this time around has cleanse. Game number 1, they both took it. Game number 2, everybody's opting for heal.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we have to talk about is 12.2 Akali. The Turbo Chem Tank did get nerfed in a number of ways that specifically affected Akali. The ability to stack up your passive is no longer available on minions, as well as the fact that they capped the distance moved so that champions with dashes can't just get tons.
ENR doesn't just give you insta stacks.
Yeah, exactly. So Akali might still go it, but it's a little less powerful and broken on her.
Well, Impact is going to walk right into the brush and find Darshan here. Of course, Darshan having bone plating means those 2 auto attacks do a grand total of 7 damage combined, so it didn't really affect him in any way, shape, or form. Also doing the 3 beads with 1 potion start for a ton of health regeneration there in the lane, so he's just fine.
Yeah, this is pretty popular on Akali. Your early laning is just awful. You know, it's so bad. So you don't really have any threat until you at least have level 3. And generally, you're not doing a lot in lane until level 6. So it's just about survival. It's about making sure you can get the farm, get the XP. Impact going to try to push him back and won't be able to deny the experience off that minion, but we'll see if he can at least deny the CS. And going to be interested to see how this lane goes, but more importantly, how mid lane really goes. Because last time was not the best game for Fudge, and now he's playing a very different style of champion. So I'm interested to see how he'll do. You know, with the Mana Crystal start here, he's already used a potion, and he's at half HP after using a potion. He's getting hit by every single laser, so he's got to be a bit careful.
Vulcan and Danny trading back and forth with Isles and Sven here, but they don't want to keep doing that until at least they get that level 2. Should be just a minion or 2 away from it here, as Danny will be able to CS as good as possible underneath the turret. Eyes on Blabber as well. Game number 1, not a great jungle performance. Game number 2 here on the Jarvan. We're hoping to see some of the magic here from, honestly, one of the most important players on the Cloud9 roster.
And I do like the move that Impact had into that top jungle. It did spot out the start for Blabber, so if they were trying to mask where he was going to go, now EG have a little bit of a heads up. He's clearing top to bottom. Bot wave's getting pushed in anyways. Mid lane's getting pushed, so JoJo's really the only one who has to be aware of exactly where he's going to go, and of course, they have the ward already placed there.
And the trading becomes so important now, because Fudge has actually used, in a minute and a half of laning, all 3 of his potion charges, and he's against an Airy Victor, so if you keep getting tagged by these lasers, I don't know if JoJo's going like full-on greed with Scorch. He's probably playing, you know, scaling runes for that, but you know, the area alone, 1 or 2 more lasers and you have to base at a pretty poor timing. JoJo should be able to get a free back on the other side because he has full push. So we'll see if Jarvan can get there and actually mix things up on that side, or if Fudge is going to continue to get bullied because already going back to base and JoJo walking forward trying to just disrupt that recall.
Yeah, it's such a disaster because it isn't even really gankable in that way. Like, J4 maybe wants to go in there and you can do some setup CC, EQ into Lux binding combo. But here, if you try and do that, the Lux can't actually contribute. And now you're in a pressure differential in mid lane and top lane.
He's short on gold.
Yeah, this is a horrible start again already for Cloud9.
Yeah, so you can see he actually stopped his recall pretty far through and came back for 1 more CS. So he must have been 20 gold or whatever off of the buy he wanted. But it's a pretty delayed recall for a refillable and an amp dome, which does not feel good. And the wave is pushing away from you. And it's a better buy on the other side. You know, Doran's plus the Dark Seal is not only way more effective early game items, it's also just more gold. Now they hit the binding though, and here's Blabber.
Oh, nice combo there from Cloud9. JoJo might have got a better buy, but Cloud9's got a second guy. First blood over to C9.
That's actually huge because JoJo wanted to keep the pressure on. He used his TP.
Yeah.
He didn't actually walk back to lane. So now erase everything I said. All that hard work is now just out the window. He's going to lose 3 full waves to the tower, at least.
Huge for C9 there in mid, but Evil Geniuses tries to strike back here in the bottom lane. They win out in the trade 2v2. They step away from the death sentence there on the back end, so they get that. But man, Cloud9 loves that play in mid lane.
Yeah, nice to see EG's bot lane do something at least, though, while you see the J4, you know, okay, this is the moment that Tahm Kench can kind of tunnel in safely. They pick a fight, they trade some summoners out. You get the flash off of the Thresh. It is a matchup where you can do that. If you get on top of the Thresh, especially since he did not go the Aftershock build, you can target him down a little bit more. A lot of these supports going either Guardian or Glacial Augment, you know, you have these opportunities to blow them up when they used to be a lot more difficult to all in on.
It's also, we haven't gotten to talk about top lane, but you look at the CS in top lane, that's a pretty big discrepancy as well. We'll see how much there is for Darshan to actually farm up, but I mean, it's not a big gold lead here with an early first blood for C9, and that generally means your lanes aren't going well.
And that bottom lane 2v2 scrap that Danny and Vulcan won, although there was no kill to get there, it forced the Cloud9 bottom lane into a point of weakness where Inspired was able to go for a very early first Drake. That was a 5-minute and 30-second Drake #1, so EG does have the ability to potentially work towards a quick soul point if they keep control over this bottom side neutral area and move towards that. Impact backing up now. He'll go back and get his first chop in. Still about 2 waves ahead of his opponent there in Darshan. The Akali does now have level 6, same with the Gwen. Remember, those teleports are still going to be sealed for a long time, so it's not like we're going to see any big flanks come out just yet.
I did like Impact backing off the wave there against the level 5 Darshan. That was a bit of a trick that I feel like some other people might fall for, not counting the enemy person's XP, even though he was 6 as well already. You should know this, but respect given to Darshan back in lane now with their items, and pen boot rush for Darshan.
Yeah, a lot of people actually do, even if they are going the tank build, like just rush pen boots, and you actually have pretty high base damages plus the spell pen from that. Keeps your damage pretty relevant and allows you to kind of not feel as much of a trough when you're building the ruby crystals and going towards chem tank. So it'll be interesting to see if it is just going to be full standard AP with the rejuve beat start, or if he wants to go into that nerf tank style.
I mean, it helps everything, right? Like your chem tank extra damage is going to be magic damage as well, so it just makes everything feel a bit more relevant. M-Pen's always going to feel solid, and we've got, of course, the Leeching Leer over on the side of Impact. That item was probably the one that it took me the longest time to learn the name of when they renamed the items. I probably called it Purple Stick for a solid 6 months. I had no idea what that stupid
Man, I didn't hear you say that on cast ever. Did you call Purple?
I called it a Purple Stick a couple of times. I'm not even afraid to admit it. Down here in bottom lane, Sven and Isles still just trying to deal here with Danny and Vulcan, who have control over the lane, but honestly, Sven's ahead in CS, so he's just fine.
Yep, gonna be feeling pretty happy about that. And Jinx, I do think scales quite a bit better than Aphelios. Aphelios, has a pretty strong early lane, obviously has a really strong mid game. But when you look at true late game, the Jinx is that big threat. So you're gonna be feeling pretty good about it. But EG have been able to use this Tahm Kench in the lane, kind of neutralize, and now they're going in.
Oh baby, Jinx might scale, but she's burning away. Good night, Sven. EG with a kill.
Such a nice combo there by EG's bot lane, tunneling in on top of the lantern, knowing if she wants to get it. It looked like Sven had a moment of panic, not sure if he should try and click it or not. Ends up pinned against the wall, gets knocked up and blown up.
Yeah, that Ignite taking him down, that's really, really big. And we talked about the Tahm Kench as kind of this compositional pick, so when you are getting through lane with it, yes, Jinx scales well, but the Tahm Kench is going to have so much value against this style of composition. If you J4 ult someone and the Lux ult is coming over top, and that person just gets Tahm Kench devoured out, well, there kind of goes their whole team.
Yeah.
So that can get really, really difficult. And EG showing a lot of prowess in their lanes. They're winning all 3 lanes, and they're really doing very, very well, across these 2 games with the early games, showing a lot of strength here. Thankfully, Blabber was able to find a really good gank mid to make this one kind of closer, but even when he picks up these 4 CS, he's still down a good 2 full waves.
Yeah, EG looking really good. They were hyped up a lot heading into the season for the young guns, the mechanical prowess, but I think what's impressed me the most, actually, is how good they are at the fundamentals of the game. We were highlighting their vision control a lot in Game 1 for that reason. They're not just, we're going to flip 50-50 fights all the time. They can actually play the more controlled, slow-paced games because they aren't actually that inexperienced between Vulcan and Inspired and Impact.
So one thing I want to ask you guys here, since we're still solidly in the early game, 5 minutes left until the plates fall, the gold advantage is not that big yet. What is the moves? What is the general plan that you want to see from Cloud9 to make sure that this game goes better than game #1?
I mean, I think it's just going to be execution around team fights. I feel like their comp is built so heavily for that, for the 5v5, where EG kind of wants to play slow and play sides. And we'll see. They're about to have a team fight potentially here. And their bot lane is cut off with no sums, so it's looking like they may be forced to retreat unless Jinx can get in.
Okay, Cloud9's backing away. Let's see if Blabber gets caught out here. Isles throws out a hook, but he won't find anything. Blabber trying to get away there with a blast cone. Ignite not going to kill him. as the Herald. Okay, that one's going to be secured by EG. Cloud9 has a 5v4, but they're already losing all their health. Darshan's staying alive, just barely. He gets away. Cloud9, they had more men, but they lost the objective, and EG's loving it.
What an absolute disaster for Cloud9. They're able to keep EG Danny in the bot lane that entire time, taking more turret plates, and they lose the objective, and they're almost all dead.
Oh, Vulcan, he's going in trying to make some sort of a move, but now Blabber's stuck inside the Cataclysm. Vulcan dies first, Inspired dies second. That was stupid.
That was so troll from EG. That was way too far. They got so much off of that play. Got really greedy chasing down these extra kills. I mean, you just got the Herald in a 4v5. You took down all plates but one in bot lane. Your Victor's farming plates mid lane. You do not need to be going past the tier 2 to try to actually get more kills. So a bit crazy there from EG. They do get punished. Flabber getting a couple kills for himself, but still, EG is coming out ahead time and time again in these fights. And to me, it's all about the fact that Jinx can't get in. Jinx is over here off screen. EG was in between Jinx and her team. So yes, they brought all the members, but the Jinx isn't even in the fight.
Yeah, they could never go in at the same time because people got chunked out before the fight. So when Darshan goes in, Blabber's already low. There's no one to join with him. Here, Vulcan's just trying to stop recalls.
So far forward.
And I almost understand what happens here. He runs out of energy, Inspired, and he had no one to auto-attack to build it up with the Lee Sin passive, so even though he landed his Q on Blabber, he couldn't get the follow-up strike to finish him off. That was a bit unlucky. They didn't have anyone to generate mana off of, or energy, excuse me. Otherwise, that maybe was a 1-for-1, but still just too greedy.
Yeah, there's no reason to go for it, right? It is about calculated risks, and you will get that from time to time, you know, with the crazy teams that play really aggressive. Yeah. And you got to push the pace. You are going to take some risks. You are going to take some risks that aren't going to work out, but overall, EG is looking really, really strong. They're going to get a full tower top. There's only one plate on bot tower. They've already knocked a plate off mid tower. So it could quickly turn into one of those games like last one where they walk around the map and they start knocking down tower after tower after tower and really extending the gold lead.
Bit of a silver lining for Cloud9. They did secure second Drake of the game, so there is not going to be this very early soul point pressure from EG stacking up 3 of them very quickly. They are going to get a second charge out of Shelly here in the top side. They've got 3 bodies here still. Akali can hide herself inside the Shroud, but not the turret. So 2 turrets dropping here in top.
Yeah, just nice map movements by EG. You saw Cloud9 want to put extra people on the weak side of the map. You can see now just the J4 hovering around the Lux lane. But they didn't realize how many people around EG were actually around that Rift Herald, so they lose 2 turrets, and they still defend the bot lane.
Impact stuck inside the Cataclysm as Fudge and Blabber work together to try to deal with him. Impact's just trying to stand and fight this a little bit. Drops the W. Gwen is immune, and Fudge is about to learn it the hard way. Double kill in a 1v2.
Top dive, but it's in the bot lane. Impact taking him out, killing the jungle, killing the mid laner. That was really well played by him, but C9 just totally underestimating the Gwen. You let her get her Conqueror stacked up like that. She does so much work in that kind of fight, and the Shroud, I believe, coming off cooldown to actually immune that ultimate was massive.
He timed the Shroud perfectly. He fought for the first 2/3 of his health bar, letting him think they had him low, and then ignored all the damage.
No.
Danny just 1v2'd as well. Cloud9 is looking foolish against these EG players.
Oh God, EG are just embarrassing them out there. The 1v2
crossed him over, broke his ankles.
Multiple 1v2s. Like, this is the fadeaway over 2 people trying to close you out. And it happened back to back, bot lane and mid lane. Oh God. This is one of those things where we're talking about, you know, after game 1, the spirit, you know, what's the motivation level for Cloud9? Like, these are more gut punches. These are backbreakers.
Absolutely. I mean, this... Oh, well, that's something. Okay, it's from his own team.
Hey,
Yeah, they're actually trying to pass it off.
Yeah,
They're trying to pass it off.
It gets the blue. But, I mean, it's rough. Those are so demoralizing when you get outplayed in the Roccat flip the switch replay. We can see this one more time. Impact playing it out very, very well. Walking forward to actually dodge the flag and drag. Notice how he's positioning to get his ult through both members. Every single time here. Has the Conqueror fully stacked, pulls back. And yeah, Fudge, that is actually more outplay than misplay than outplay. He used that with the Shroud still up. That wasn't being popped as he actually ultied. I think he just mistimed it there, thought that the Shroud was about to expire, went for the ult. That gets immune, and that means he's got nothing left in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, Impact did a really good job baiting it out.
He played it so well.
Because I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, why didn't Fuzz just walk into the Shroud beforehand or something like that? But
You just died.
Yeah, you just get jumped on then. You have the Gwen would go past the J4 and kill you. So he was in a footsie situation where if he shoots out his abilities, Gwen's going to immune them. So you have to try and time it. And that's, I think, what he went for. But like you said, just mistimed it.
Impact just checkmated them into an unwinnable situation by waiting for the exact right moment to use that W when he was such low HP. Now EG working together as a 5-man unit, going down towards that last remaining Tier 1 turret on the map. Cloud9 do have enough players nearby to keep that one defended for now. But guys, the gold lead's getting a little bit unmanageable for C9 now, 4,000 gold.
It's totally out of control. I mean, it's one of those situations where when you die to a Gwen pre-mythic, it always feels like it's just going to be a bad game.
Yeah.
You know, this champion is like a totally different beast once you actually have the Riftmaker completed. He had the 1v2 without Riftmaker, without Tier 2 boots. He completes both of those. There's no one on Cloud9 that can threaten Impact whatsoever anymore. You actually can't really even answer the Victor effectively, so you lose both side lanes, and you have to find these hard engages, but Tahm Kench is there to bail them out.
Yeah, exactly. When Captain Flowers asked, like 5 minutes ago, what should Cloud9 be doing? They have a game plan. I think you would want to snowball the Akali so that way she doesn't fall behind in the 1v1 side lane threat, and then she's a diver in the 5v5s. But Cloud9 just get outplayed individually in the laning phases, how things are going, that you never see them actually set up their win conditions. They're not ever actually able to gank for Darshan because there's fires all over the map that they're trying to put out.
I mean, it's incredibly rare that you win a game where you lose all 3 lanes, right?
Yeah.
It's just really, really hard.
Especially in competitive.
Exactly, especially in competitive, but solo queue as well. I mean, you know as a jungler, I know as a jungler, a lot of the times when you're playing those games, it feels like your options are just so limited because when a team is having pressure in all 3 lanes, it's very easy for them to then get forward vision. They know where you are as a jungler. Sure, you're a Jarvan, you have good ganking power, but guess what? They got eyes on you everywhere you go. Oh, here's a ward. You're on the Raptors. Oh, there's a ward. 3 wards up on the top side of the jungle. There's these situations where, yes, if you can seek in and find someone, you can maybe make something happen, but you never have the element of surprise.
And even then, like, you are also often at an HP deficit. So if the Lee Sin is shadowing one of these pushing lanes that has chunked your laners already, you can lose the 2v2, you can lose the 3v3. And it makes so much pressure on a jungler to be like, I have to put out these fires everywhere, but everywhere I go has extra risk. They might see me coming. And that's how this feels when your mid lane's perma-shoved in, your bot lane's getting 2v2'd, your top lane's, going kind of even, but you can't even get up there.
And I've got to say, whenever I'm playing a burst comp, whenever I'm playing like a hard engage comp that needs to kill someone right off the bat, and I see Mountain Soul on the other side, it's just depression. It's like, oh no. Because at least if they had Infernal or something like, but maybe we could still one-shot him. And then Mountain Soul comes through, it's negating all your flat pen with the armor MR that's coming through on all of these individual dragons. And if EG actually gets to that, I just think it becomes so hard to find that engage that ever kills off the carries.
And again, we're seeing the same story being told as game number 1 by the wards and their placements. Look at the vision on the EG side of the map. You can't because it doesn't exist. There's no reason for it to exist because they're never under any pressure. Thank you. I think question mark ping it for me. If only we had the noise.
What's over there?
We don't care because that half of the map sees no play.
You know what the worst part is?
Is so in control.
This part too. You're really
Your own side.
Your own side. You're like, are we going to die if we farm Rap?
Honestly, yes. Yes, you will probably. It's a tough position for Cloud9 too because your comps are honestly pretty similar. Split push threats in the top lane, immobile control mages, marksmen that scale, and when you just get slammed across the map and you have this, like you said, soul point that's going to negate some of your win cons, you don't really have like that big of a trick beyond like hope you find an odd man fight to insta-give someone. And so like there's not that obvious play for Cloud9, whereas before, you have the TF, maybe you can like port around the map, they can't match that. Here you actually line up so well that once you fall behind, your options are even more limited.
Yeah, I mean, you lose 1v1s, you need to have a perfect engage to win 5v5, but Tahm Kench was drafted specifically for that, so definitely limited options here. Like what EG are doing though, pushing down this bot side, controlling vision, they'll summon the Herald, their pressure here, Impact is pushing in mid, again it's the 4-1, similar to last game, and they're just checking every brush, they laser out the brush, they check with the Lee Sin Q, they're making sure that Cloud9 doesn't have the opportunities to find a picks by removing fog from the map and clearing out every single area that they could be.
Evil geniuses. They managed to get a tier 2 turret with both Rift Heralds this game. Recall, if you will, the fact that the first Rift Herald got both turrets in the top lane there. They, of course, didn't have to go through the first one here in the bottom lane. That was taken care of a while back, but so much value for the objectives being found by this team so far. They've got 2 Drakes, 2.5 minutes until the next one spawns. We're just about to hit the 20-minute mark, which means now, if you're Cloud9 and you lose a fight, there's also the threat of that Baron going over too.
Yeah, 20 minutes, they have a ton of damage. They can force it if they want. We've seen how good EG is about setting up vision when they choose that quadrant of the map to be where they want to focus. They set it up so well, they get the waves in their favor, and then, you know, Jarvan's got to start walking in, face-checking brushes, and it's kind of scary.
Honestly, even if they don't win a fight, anytime I see a Aphelios with White Gun and his team is winning, I'm pretty scared that they could do Baron.
Yeah.
I mean, because they have a tremendous amount of damage. And not joking around. I mean, it's just like, you know, Lee Sin, Victor, and Aphelios walk into the pit. That thing can die fast, you know, even at the earlier stages of the game. So they really got to be careful, and I think they're going to have a really tough time over this next 10 minutes to stay in the game. Because if for the next 10 minutes they can kind of keep parity, maybe you can make something happen, but that's a tough ask.
Well, it's 1.5 minutes until that dragon spawns. You can see Cloud9 still just trying to farm. Get whatever resources you can. Across the board, the CS numbers are not looking friendly, except maybe there in the jungle. It is a 40 farm lead in mid for JoJo. A little bit less in the other locations, as Evil Geniuses will just keep on clearing out these waves. Cosmic Drive now done for the Gwen. There's the 2-item power spike that really just turns her into an absolute side lane monster. Vulcan goes over the wall. There's your special delivery. Has to flash to stay alive. Aphelios roots 3. C9 trying to continue their disengage as Impact will try to approach from the side, but he's too far away to get anything done. That was a little bit of a bizarre sequence from beginning to end.
Yeah, Vulcan had people kind of behind him, but not that close. You know, you still have to respect the enemy team. You are still Tom Kenshin, so he got focused down a little bit there before the rest of the team could back him up. But still enough time before the Dragon that they're not going to lose any actual objectives off of this, and so it was in some sense a bit of a risk-free play.
Yeah, I mean, he does lose his flash, but they got 2 flashes and the Ignite off of the other side.
Still a trade up, yeah.
It's actually still a trade up. And you can go for these plays that sometimes look silly because you are so far ahead, but they really have to respect everything that you do, because if Aphelios or Victor get on top of you, you're just going to die. And that is that difficult situation that they've kind of found themselves in. You know, Danny is 2,500 plus gold ahead. They're going to be looking for him on this side lane, but he is too far away from Blabber. You know, if you commit the flash ulti there, you'll just die after. So now it's all about the Dragon setup.
Yeah, he's already at 10,000 gold for Danny. That's why they're targeting him.
All right, Blabber goes in looking for it, but it does not work, man. He has to immediately walk away. Danny did not use either summoner spell there.
Impact's on the flank.
Still has both. Impact's behind everybody on C9. He'll just draw them away. Darshan looking to see if he can go closer, but all the Dragon's taken down to 2K, but they want to draw it back out of the pit, make sure there's no chance for Blabber to try to steal it. Yeah, Fudge fires off the laser, but it don't matter too much. Impact still just casually strolling away from everybody. By the time Darshan's finally in range to slow him with a Q, the rest of EG's right on top of him. You can't force that anymore.
That is really such a tough situation, though, because they're chasing Impact. You can't walk away from Impact into the pit, because he'll just get a pincer, and you'll die, absolutely. Yep. So they have to try to chase him out, but he has so much move speed, he just easily walks away. They get that. Now they are on to the Baron here. They're going to force C9's hand. They have an idea that it's going on, but they don't have any vision. They can't check on it. They don't know what the HP is.
There's still 3 ultis down on C9 as well. Fudge is about to get the laser back, but Sven still has a significant cooldown on the rocket, as does Blabber with the Cataclysm. That's why EG felt so confident being able to do that. Cloud9 couldn't kill them there, but they could force them off.
Yeah, it's still a rope-a-dope move by EG, though, because you draw them all out of mid lane to force that face check. That gives you mid priority now, and they can actually continue to push down here. And this is what I was talking about with EG. Their fundamentals are really good. Don't flip the game on a Baron force there. Actually just go mid lane and keep moving C9 around the map. And eventually, someone will miss position, and you'll find that pick.
Exactly, and it's just such a low-risk play, right? Because they're not a threat. If Cloud9 is slow to check the Baron, guess what? Your reward is a Baron. If they do check the Baron, you walk out, and you push out mid, and you get pressure there. You know, Cloud9 has to respond to everything that they do. Lich Bane now even done here on JoJo, so with those 2 items, that is really threatening. I actually think that Danny's more defensive build here is smart. There's no need to go to an IE. He just grabs Wit's End. He says, how do I ever die this game? Well, Akali gets on me and I get Lux ulted.
Yep.
MR, plus the Tom Kench now, plus the Guardian. That is just smart gameplay here. You don't need to do maximum damage. When you have a super fed Victor, you have a Lee Sin who's going to do damage, you have the Gwen in the top side too.
It's technically double dipping as well with the Mountain Drakes that you're stacking up, so it's even more efficient in that sense. And like you said, when you're playing from ahead, you can slow down your maximum DPS build because you have extra gold to play with. As much as, you know, we're popping off about Impact's 2v1 and all that, Danny got super fed from that Rift Herald fight where he just stayed bot lane and farmed so many turrets.
Alrighty. EG's ready to dare him to come up here one more time. Fudge fires off the laser. Gonna find a good chunk there onto Impact, who is below half HP. But the Baron is also down below half. With Impact potentially compromised, they gotta be careful. Vulcan's gonna die for free. Nice catch there from Cloud9. Danny has about 1 million chakrams around him, so they don't want to go anywhere near him. EG will be forced away from the play, and Cloud9, still having Darshan in the bottom lane, gets a kill for free, and they're going to get the mid lane turret.
That was terrifying. If that Danny ult landed and he was able to get the long-range auto off with those all chakrams, maybe someone would... yeah, someone just gets blasted down, but the fact they get that pick off means Darshan doesn't actually need to TP down. He gets an objective bounty, plus they're able to move mid lane and get a second one. It's a pretty massive gold swing. The gold difference is now only down to 2,500. Not saying, you know, Cloud9 are fully back in the game, but that was a huge relief of pressure.
I mean, Sven just got like 1,000 gold. Just from the solo turret gold there, you know, plus he got the objective bounty, they got the kill, they got a lot going for him there. He is still quite a bit behind, but he was 2,500 gold behind Danny about a couple seconds ago. Now he's 1,500 down, which is more manageable. So EG, you know, they were, I think, just trying to start it to get out the TP and then back off, but Vulcan gets picked. He's been playing that kind of edge pretty dangerously and does get punished this time.
And the thing I want to point out is in direct contrast to your previous point about Danny being able to itemize defensively because of the luxury he's afforded by his team's lead, Sven can't do that. Sven does go for the Infinity Edge third here, so when he hits that item power spike, he will be very strong in terms of DPS potential in this fight.
And to defend Vulcan a little bit here, the offensive options, hold on, Blabber.
Blabber getting locked down, blown up! And my friends, when the enemy jungler dies and you were already interested in doing Baron, I think your interest now peaks with that Baron.
Steal his red buff.
There we go. Cloud9 seeing if they can stop it. They're committing the Darshan TP to come up here and contest. Darshan will approach from the other side as they move forward to try to chase after Isles. Danny flashing out of the way, goes for the kill on the enemy support and gets it. But Darshan's causing some chaos in the back. Impact doing the same, and he's found his way onto Sven. Snip, snip, he's out. And Fudge tries to survive as the last man standing. He'll get away underneath the turret, but he's the only one doing it, and EG is right back over to the topside river.
With Blabber dead, it was such an easy turn for EG there. They bait them in, starting the Baron off, and then Darshan's coming from the backside, but you just charge down the front without the J4 there to protect the immobile backline. Sven was easy pickings, and their reward is their first Baron of the game.
Well, Blabber wants to stop it.
Or is it?
Impact's going to move forward. They want to keep the Cloud9 jungler out of here. Cataclysm's going to get dropped down. He tries to keep him locked away. Fudge laser comes out, but it don't matter none. Baron over to EG.
EG played around that really, really well. Just send the Gwen to actually push out Blabber. Then still don't try to burst it. They let it sit around 2k HP. And this is just all about the Impact flank here for me. You know, the start of the fight is fine, but once Impact is going to get into this juicy backline here, Sven and Fudge have got nothing to do but full-on retreat. So the rest of the C9 members are going to get collapsed on and just beat down by the other 4 EG members.
Yeah, and that fight was again started by Vulcan jumping on top of the Thresh. That was the point I was going to make about defending him. He's the only team to engage if you have Inspired more in a flank position or looking to insect, or in the case of this, on the Baron. You know, that's why I think Vulcan has gone for some of these more risky engages.
Okay. Impact joins the fight here. This is Mountain Soul. If EG is able to collect, Cloud9 has to be feeling so much pressure right now. Blabber knows that it's either steal this or they just have this huge advantage. He's in the pit now, pulled to safety by the Lantern. Impact gonna take a decent chunk of damage. Gravity well placed down on top of him. Impact's gonna be bursted, but Gwen is immune again. Inspired going for the kick on the enemy AD. Carrying Sven is already down. Evil geniuses outplay, they out-execute, and they outmaneuver Cloud9 again and again. Vulcan leads the charge. Darshan's trying to stay alive, but the Akali cannot do so for long. Blabber's gonna be chased down, and Fudge is about to be taken off the menu as JoJo uses the stasis to survive any sort of a potential burst from Blabber. He's gonna teleport right back on top of him and find the damage too. JoJo says, get over here. Ace for EG. EG.
What a final fight there for EG. Inspired goes deep, kicks in Sven, and then Jojo Byun pulls off the magic trick. Now you see him, now you don't. It's the Lichbane one-shot onto the Jinx, and with him falling, there goes C9's hopes of this game.
See ya later, C9. Isles gets farmed up on the entrance to the base. EG's padding them stats, man. Game 2, just as clean as game number 1 almost.
Already putting them onto match
Almost.
point. It is a very fast best of 5 so far. EG look so incredible. They're not only slamming C9, but they're looking like hands down the best team in Lock-in so far.
They're so exciting to watch, too. This is not one of those traditional, I mean, here in North America, we've had the conversation in the past where our best teams are like, all right, we're going to outscale you. We are better, so we will take this to 4 items, and then we will beat you. EG, I don't even know if they believe in 4 items. These guys want to play some early, aggro, in-your-face League of Legends.
There were no 4th items completed.
Hell
I can
yes.
confirm. They stop at 3. If the game goes later, they stop building items.
This is awesome. I am loving watching this team play. The way that they're coordinated, the way that everybody seems to be following the calls and ready to commit. It's so much fun to see. Evil geniuses bring the heat, and that win streak just keeps sizzling. Now it's time to head on over to the State Farm Analyst Desk to break it down.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. Yet again, EG comes out on top in this best of 5 against Cloud9. Now 2-0 stands the series score. Very different look out of Cloud9. Like to see it, given the criticisms we had towards the composition there in game number 1. And by all intents and purposes, a closer game, a better challenge against EG, but it still feels like this EG is a step above the rest.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Oh, I was just gonna talk about the draft because we both found it very interesting.
Yeah.
The way they pivoted here. So Jinx's first pick does make sense, but then a lot of times you would then counter that with just Aphelios Thresh because Thresh, at least last patch, was the pick you would take to then win the lane every time with Jinx. But with the Corki ban, there's a higher priority on Victor. So everything has a response here. Therefore, they take the Thresh, but what they do there is they leave themselves open to get pinched in the mid pool by taking Jarvan as well. And then the Lux comes through and we're wondering, is this a pocket pick that they think is going to be an outrange in the mid and late game? Possibly. But what was for certain is that the laning phase didn't work. And then the final cool thing about the draft was the Tahm Kench also coming in as a better answer to Thresh, which wouldn't have been as possible last patch.
What's your verdict on the
Yeah,
draft?
no, I was going to bring up how they really, really wanted to pinch Fudge's champ pool.
Yeah.
Right? Because we were wondering, as it was going on before the Lux pick, is he going to pick something to rotate from, you know, top lane and bring it into mid and just be like, okay, maybe this isn't good into this Victor, but it's something he's comfortable with. I think the Tahm Kench and the Gwen pickups were absolutely massive here because Gwen was still open and then the Tahm Kench to deny the Thresh. And also you saw the power of Tahm Kench later on in the series as well.
And to your point about bringing top lane champions to the mid lane, if he was playing counter Bruiser Lux, then I would have said, you know, that's the way to go. But that wasn't the build this
What are you
time around.
building on that?
What's going on there? You guys never heard of counter Bruiser Lux? No, I don't think I have. Yeah, she counters all bruisers if you build her like a bruiser. Either way, and all of that said, I know we're diving into some replays here, but Jet, I wanted to take a quick stop off because you actually described Fudge's laning phase as very much your own laning phase.
Well, this was off camera, and it's meaner than it would normally be on desk, but there have been accusations of autofill in mid. And I just say the early lane state for Fudge looked like my early laning stages. But obviously I'm against like a better diamond player.
Right.
Fudge is against a better pro player in the early laning phase. Lux versus Victor. He got slammed.
You know, the step up makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, he got bailed out by Blabber early on, but you can still see that was a really, really rough early laning phase for Lux.
And now to jump to the replay that we just saw, Emily, I think this just goes to showcase yet again EG's ability to extend gold leads, and particularly in this game, their usage of Danny.
Yeah, so the big thing that happened in that play actually was that it was a 4v5, and Danny got the entire turret down there, just crashing this massive wave into bot tier 1, and then they rotate him around so that he is then basically playing PvE topside with that herald that they get to then take top turret. And so he was so far ahead in gold specifically because they just kept rotating him to take, I think, Jat, you counted it, 9 total turret plates on the Aphelios.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The fact that they were able to not only get the gold on towards the Aphelios, who had taken a plate before this, you know, a Rift Herald fight even started, but then got the Rift Herald itself. Like, it essentially was a 4v4, like the caster said. Like, Jinx wasn't a part of the play, was so far away, so essentially EG pushed them off, took the fight. Now, that was a 600 goal swing in EG's favor, and then they died. And then it went back to even. But the gold's still in favor of Aphelios there, and a lot of the gold went into Jarvan's pockets, so still Evil Genius has come out for the better.
Yeah, still not without mistakes. We're not painting the picture that EG's playing perfectly, but time and time again, even in those small cases or those few cases where you go, ooh, they gave something away, they gave something back, you just scroll down to the bottom side of the map or the opposite side of the map and you go, actually, maybe they're breaking even at worst in this scenario. A player that we've somewhat notably not talked about much is Impact. I mean, yeah, we mentioned he's a mainstay, and we talked about the fun of the rematch here against Darshan. Well, today he's getting the better of everyone, and sure, it may come at the expense of a misplay here from Cloud9, but everyone has been going nuts on Twitter. This is our Rockcat big play of the day. It's Impact in the 2v1 on Gwen.
Yeah, and he just takes the challenge. Just able to dodge out, and a lot of locks his damage. Of course, like in the very beginning, didn't get hit by the EQ from J4. And so you make that misplay, Impact will bounce back, will fight back. Him on carries for the past multiple splits now, actually. Last year when he was on Akali, he was putting in work too. So like, he is no longer just the weak side only. If only it's by preference, it's based on the team that he's on, that he prefers to just play through Danny or, in this case, JoJo. But you put him on a carry, he's going wild.
And they rely on him so heavily to just be fine in top, right? Like, and that's the reason why we haven't talked about him as much, right? Like in the last game, he had such an insane forward percentage because he was already dirty farming on Renekton. His previous Graves game was really strong too. He just constantly, in the previous series, he had constantly had push on top side. And so, when you look at this team, you're like, okay, it's all of these young, super aggressive players, and Impact is consistently stable.
Yeah.
And that's actually so important for this team, especially because they're making the rest of the map incredibly volatile.
I liked it. We showed a number of tweets. The one that I liked the most was the one that kind of commented, it's 2022 bot die. Like, I like that. We're going out. It's not just top die anymore.
Anyone can die.
Yeah, no preference. Anybody can die in that case. This is a nice little follow-up, though, to that point that we made earlier around the way that EG is using Danny on the map. It's while the CS was actually fairly close between the two marksmen, Danny has boatloads more gold.
And I think this is a thing where we could credit it all to Danny if you're saying, look at his individual gold difference, but this was true last year with EG as well. A lot of times Danny gets gold because the team is able to make so much pressure elsewhere, and he just stays put. He just stays in the lane and kills the turret and gets a huge amount of gold. Like, that's one of the biggest gold injections you can get as an AD carry, is taking 4 or 5 plates and a turret. So that was only possible because of the earlier Rift Herald play that we saw to let him get all the plates.
True, and this is one of those rare games where you still see like a stylish play from him after the fact that, like, oh, this is the gold can't correlate to that because of that solo kill that he was able to get mid lane while taking turret plates. where yes, Sven does make a mistake, walks up to the turret, the specific Aphelios turret, and gets destroyed by Gale Force.
But see, for me, plays like that, though, is all the evidence I need that funneling the gold into Danny like that is the right decision, right? I might think differently if I felt like Danny was always playing scared and needed to be, put in this. No, the guy creates his own winning situations. Yes, that also then makes the team plays that much more advantageous.
Well, and the thing that makes him so dangerous now is how much they're relying on him with this early turret gold, because previously we were like, okay, what's his, I guess, weakest point, right? It's definitely his laning. Well, here, Vulcan was able to get the roam timers with TK. Danny was absolutely fine in that lane. He got all of this gold, and then we already knew he's insane in team fights, and that's where he's always going to deliver.
Well, end of the day, EG looks damn good right now, and Cloud9's going to have to throw 3 together in a row if they want to bring it back and push themselves into the lock-in finals. I'm going to leave it to them to show us what they've got in that game number 3. But for those of you at home, Fantasy LCS is returning for the regular season. So be sure to sign up with the Sleeper app and draft your lineups before next weekend's games begin. Now, here's a hot tip. Maybe think about drafting Danny or JoJo, really any player on EG, and you'll probably turn out all right. Now, with that point upon us, let's see what Evil Geniuses has left in the tank. We'll see if Cloud9 can come back in it all and find a spot in the lock-in finals. It's Game 3 coming up right after this. We'll see you here.
No, here's Blabber.
Oh, nice combo there from Cloud9. JoJo might have got a better buy, but Cloud9's got a second guy. First blood.
So now they're going in.
Oh, baby. Jinx might scale, but she's burning away. Good night, Sven. Impact's just trying to stand and fight this a little bit. Drops the W. Gwen is immune. And Fudge is about to learn it the hard way. Double kill in a 1v2.
Top.
What's going on?
Jake from State Farm, the perp just confessed. I think. I don't know.
What?
Oh, can't afford streaming anymore, so here we are.
Oh, don't give up what you love. State Farm has options to personalize your policy so you get a rate that fits your budget.
Oh, that's great. The subtitles would be nice.
For surprisingly great rates that fit any budget, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.
This is the sort of pride that gets you in those big moments, allows you to take down giants.